You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Let's get down to the starting line, and I'll tell you about what you're going to see on tonight's show. We've got a 1988 Honda CR500 in the What's It Worth segment. Hollywood and their love affair with motorcycles. Jeff Kokoski is back with a great segment on Steve McQueen and The Great Escape, an 81 CR250 in the Moto Showcase. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Mike McCook, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate. Stay tuned.
Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I am your host, Joe Abbate. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we've got a special show for you. First things first, don't forget, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or share our show on Facebook. Always greatly appreciated. Also, thank you to our supporters. Your names are up there on the board, and we've got some new ones to show you as well. Thank you, Mark LaRue, Scott Behrens, and Frank Bueller for becoming Vintage Motocross Q&A supporters. Yep, Susie is with me. Suze, where are you?
I'm right here.
Hey, there you are, in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You giving away anything tonight, honey?
I am.
What are you doing?
I'm giving away Review Appreciation, the Zephyr Zundap book by Kurt Evans,
Right.
and the Amsoil two-stroke synthetic oil, courtesy of Russell Waters.
That is absolutely awesome, and you'll be in a little bit later on to tell me about who the winners are, correct?
Correct.
And you've got hidden away in a Hellman's mayonnaise jar on the porch since this afternoon the answer to our trivia question, correct?
I do.
All right. Excellent. So we'll be back with Sue in just a little bit. In the meantime, let's move on with the show, and let's get down to the Moto Showcase. The Moto Showcase is brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Scott Killiam sent us in this beautiful 1981 Honda CR250. I'm going to read to you about it, and we'll go through the slides. My name is Scott Killiam. I first started out with a Doodlebug mini bike, progressed to a JT1 Yamaha, and by that time I was 14. In 1975, I worked my way up to a 74 Honda CR125. I sold that bike in 1980 and had some other different bikes along the way. One thing that really amazed me is how awesome the Red Rockets are and how they looked. In 1983, I purchased this 1981 Honda CR250. I was totally in awe of how futuristic that bike looked. I really enjoyed owning it and sold it a few years later. The thought of how cool that Red Rocket looked never left my mind, and as time evolved, I found another one, and I started looking for even more. So last November, at the age of 64, I bought a 79 CR79 Red Rocket. I was having so much fun on that bike, I started looking for this CR250. I found one about 25 miles from my house. It needed a complete rebuild, but I did buy it, and I'm very, very happy with it. I finished the restoration back in April, and I ride it as much as I can on my 6-acre farm here. I just putt around, but I enjoy it from time to time. I really enjoy connecting with other vintage MX people. I find it interesting that most of us who we meet are all between 60 and 70 and have so much in common due to these old bikes. Well, we grew up in the most exciting times, and these are the bikes that were evolving very, very quickly. Anyway, that's my story. Thank you for listening. Scott, P.S. I'm very deep into a Honda CR480 twin shock bike. I'll keep you posted. And I cannot forget my wonderful wife, Diane, who encouraged me to go out and buy that 1979 last November. Well, that is a absolutely wonderful story, Scott. You could have told me a lot more about your 82 CR or 81 CR250, but the pictures speak for themselves. You did an absolutely beautiful job on it. And I'm looking forward to seeing your 480 as well. Okay, let's move on with the show. What do we got coming up next? We did the Moto Showcase, and yeah, take a quick break. Be right back. God said, let there be light, and there was light. Preston Petty said, let there be light, and he gave you this, 1200 lumens with a rechargeable battery on the back. Hook it up to your bike, no wires, no fuss, no muss. Get over to PrestonPettyProducts.com today. Thanks, Paul Stannard. The Next Time Try This segment is brought to you by Motion Pro. Be sure to visit them online at motionpro.com. I have a little bit of a two for you here tonight. It's an older video and a little bit of a newer one. We did some shock work on a Honda, and I did it with the right tools the second time. Take a look at this. I think you'll enjoy it. Taking a look at a video right now. A lot of guys out there, big Elsinore fans, and the shock to an Elsinore is a lot easier to take apart than you may think. I've got one right here that is together yet. And in the video, you're going to see how I've taken off the collar at the top. You can slip off the springs. And, well, you'll see it in the video. And I'll give you a little explanation as we're watching that together. Here's the shock. You can see it complete. It's the same on Elsinore's 125s and 250s. What I had done for this picture was I took off the adjuster on the bottom so I could show you how to take off the spring retainer at the top. It's not that easy with the adjuster on the bottom. You may need a spring retainer tool to get it off, or have a friend help you as you push down on that to get the spring off the shock. Once you get it off, well, the pictures speak for themselves. Now, I have another shock here after it's all been taken apart. You may need a special wrench to get off the piece at the bottom, but right now you have a lock nut at the top with your eyelet. You want to take that eyelet off, get the nut loose, and you're going to be able to get this head off. And on there, you're going to have an O-ring, and there's a seal head inside. These things are still available. I got mine from Keith Linus the last time I bought them at Osa Planet. When you pull that shock apart, it is going to have oil in it, so be very, very careful. But as you can see, it's very, very simple to take apart. At that point, you can get your shafts re-hard chromed. You could refinish the bottom, and when it's all done, I would recommend you use AMSOIL shock therapy oil in your suspension. It's really that simple, fellas. It's not that complicated to take apart an Elsinore shock. Not like a Works Performance shock or some of your other more modern shocks where there's nitrogen and other things involved, shim stacks and such. So that's how you take apart a CR125 or 250 shock from 1974, 75, 76 too, I think. On tonight's Next Time Try This segment, I want to talk to you about how to remove a spring from a shock. Now, whether you have to rebuild a pair of shocks, you want to change the spring rate on your bike, or you just want to paint the bodies, whatever it may be, you want to be able to get that spring off so you get it down to looking like this. But that spring has a lot of pressure on it, and maybe sometimes if you're in your shop, you could push down on it while you get one of your friends to pull that retaining collar out, but it's not so safe and it doesn't always work. And depending on if you have a shock that has a very high rate of spring, you might not be able to pull that down with your hand. So I'm going to show you this little tool that I bought this week. It only cost me 30 bucks. I'm going to show you how it works right now. The kit we purchased came in a little box just like this, and I purchased it on a popular auction site. Inside that box, you've got the following items. These two pieces are going to connect to your spring up on the top. These two pieces will connect to this piece on the bottom, which will go on the bottom of your shock this way. They did not supply a bolt and a nut like this, so I just went onto the shelf and got one. So you'd put these two pieces on just like this. These two pieces also have to be put together. Just grab a regular 12 and a 13 millimeter wrench, tighten them up a little bit. Same thing for this one. Get those tightened up a bit. You're going to want to hook this up to your shock spring. Now, this is the first time I'm doing it. I just took it out of the box. Okay, so it's going to look like that. When I tighten these two nuts, it should compress the spring. Let's give that a try. But I could see even doing it by hand, the spring is starting to come down just a little bit. I'm going to turn these nuts evenly, a couple of turns each. Keep it balanced. Keep this pivot point on the bottom straight. And I'm going to turn it this way so you can see the spring, or where the spring retainer cap is right there. You'll be able to see that it is coming down as I tighten these nuts. I think it's just about down far enough already to where I might be able to get that cap out. And this is about the safest way and the best way you could ever get a spring off of a shock. There you go. We've got it off, got the spring compressed, and we're going to let some pressure back off.
and we can get our tool off the shock, remove the spring. We can continue on with whatever we want to do with our shock. If we want to paint it, whatever kind of service you want to do on your shock, that's how you want to compress the spring and get it off safely. It's not something you could really do without this tool.
And there it is. Probably one of the best $30 I ever spent was on that spring compressor tool. And I would advise anybody get one. And, you know, at the time I said popular auction site. I got it on eBay, like a lot of people get stuff. Okay. Moving on with the show. The Here's the Problem segment is brought to you by Gordon McCaffer and McCaffer Welding. His number was right there on the screen, or Gordon is on Facebook, and he makes the best stand in the business, period. There's nothing to talk about when it comes to that. Question came in from Mark Roller. Mark has a set of thermal shocks for a DT2MX. Shocks are from a later model. He drained the fluid, used a modified hand grinder to pin wrench to remove the aluminum cap with no problem. Attempted to pull out the piston assembly, but no go. Held the top shock eyelet in the vise, tapped down very gently on the shock reservoir with a rubber mallet, but no success. Can't see a clip or O-ring holding it. What is the procedure to remove the shaft out from the inner assembly? You need a bigger hammer. I'm only kidding. What your problem there is, and I have seen it, and I have a picture of it right here, is that you have, whether the shock had a little oil in it or maybe didn't have enough oil in it, you probably have some binding somewhere from either a steel bushing rubbing against the aluminum body, and they've kind of fused together, being they are dissimilar metals. But as you can see in this picture, there is nothing. Once you get that nut off of the top eyelet, or you get the top eyelet, and you get out the rubber bushings and things like that, and the seal head, and that's this little piece right down here. See the shock shaft in the picture? Right in front of it is an aluminum cap. Once you get that cap off, there is absolutely nothing holding that whole assembly inside there. Now, here's what I would recommend. I would recommend you put it back in your vise the way you had it, and you are going to tap on it with a rubber mallet again, but you're going to heat it up with a little MAP gas or a propane torch. Just go around the whole aluminum body, do it slowly, get it nice and warm, give it a couple of taps, and it's going to come off. And I'll share a little story with you. I restored 3 YZ125s for one customer. 3 sets of shocks, 6 shocks. Number 3 and number 5 were almost impossible to get apart. The first set came right apart, and I couldn't understand when the third one came what the problem was, and I did what I told you to do, and it came out. Fourth one was fine. The fifth one, I was a little older and a little wiser, and I managed to get that out. So that's what you really need to do. Heat it up a little bit. Good idea with the rubber mallet. Hit it on that cap that's on top of the reservoir, and you'll get it to come off. There's really nothing holding it inside there. You're taking a cautious approach, and that is a good one to take, okay? We are going to take a little commercial break. We will be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Hi, I'm Al Roof, the other lumberjack, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Okay, in the What's It Worth segment, we're going to be taking a look tonight at a 1988 Honda CR500. This is the portion of the show that is brought to you by Full Circle Racing, but it is the portion of the show where I ask you, the viewers at home, to guess how much you think this bike recently sold for. Susie will have some prizes for you a little bit later on in the show. I think she gives away the Kurt Evans book for this. So let's get on with that. 1988 Honda CR500 was acquired by the seller in circa 2015, reportedly from its second owner. The bike is refurbished over several years. Work included overhauling the liquid-cooled 490cc two-stroke single, front and rear suspension, along with replacing the red bodywork. It has an FMF Gold Series expansion chamber, exhaust and silencer, chain sprockets, radiators, silicone hoses, and more. As you could see, are all new, and the frame was powder-coated. The CR500 is offered at no reserve with refurbishment records, a spare silencer, climber manual, and a clean California off-road title. The bike features a replacement red plastic graphics paired with polished plastic fuel tank seat over the red powder-coated frame and subframe. The bike is not equipped with the bike is equipped with a side stand, and a center stand is included as well. It's got alloy did rims, 21-inch up front, 18 in the back. They are mounted to Maxxis motocross tires. Suspension consists of shower leading axle cartridge fork suspension. And what else has he got here? Oh, it's got a ProLink swing arm and, of course, the monoshocks attached to that. The liquid cooled 490 two-stroke single features a polished kickstarter, 38mm key and carburetor, and FMF Gold Series gnarly pipe. Work completed under the current owner per seller included overhauling the petcox, the magneto, re-sleeving, and port matching the cylinder. Additional work included installing the following replacement components: Vertex standard size piston and rings, Honda sourced cylinder head hardware, right side water pump cases, bearings and gaskets, twin aluminum radiators, silicone coolant hoses. The seller states that it's only run for about 1 hour since he rebuilt the whole bike. Now, there it is in all its glory, and I'm asking you, the viewers at home, to guess how much you think this bike recently sold for. It was sold on Bring a Trailer. So with that in mind, I'm going to take a look at some of the comments too. 6,000 from Ray Lindsay, 8,100 from Tim Christie, 3965. David Nesbitt at 10,000. I think I'm going to call it a wrap with David Nesbitt at 10 grand. This bike actually sold for $10,500. That's $10,500. So David Nesbitt, get your email, or I'm sorry, get your mailing address to us, and we will get you we'll get you that nice book from Kurt Evans, A to Z. It's really cool. I think you're going to enjoy that. Okay. We are going to take one more commercial break. Then we'll be back with trivia and a couple of more things that you're really going to enjoy. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Brad Lackey, and
It's Donnie Hansen.
I'm Doug Grant.
Hi, I'm Tommy Croft, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate. We'll be right back with my dear friend Joe.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? Answer's simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McAllister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing today.
Thank you, Tom McAllister, for your years of support. You are our longest running sponsor. Thank you, Tom. Russell Waters has a great little special going on for vintage motocross Q&A viewers. Dominator two-stroke oil, regularly $81, now just $60. Can't beat that. Maybe split that with one or two of your friends. Dominator. Amsoil, the first in synthetic since 1973. I think Sue's ready to come back on with us with her viewer appreciation winner. Sue, are you with me?
I am.
You got a viewer appreciation
I
winner?
do. That would be Scott Killiam. Scott Killiam.
Well, okay, let's go
What's
with
the
that.
matter?
No, nothing is the matter. Scott Killiam actually gave us our feature bike tonight for the Moto Showcase.
Oh,
But you know what? You
What?
didn't know. You didn't know, really.
oh, I didn't
until-
know.
So, okay, Scott Killiam. Well, that's
yeah.
great because he deserves a little something to, he deserves a little something for sending his bike in. It was a great little segment. So I'm
Okay.
really happy about that. Scott Killiam, tonight's your big night, brother. You send us your address and we'll get you the EMS oil package from Russell Waters. Okay. All right. So you keep listening. We'll be back a little bit later with trivia.
Okay.
All right. Moving on with the show. Where are we? Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you guys. If you wanted to be a Vintage Motocross Q&A supporter, for $49.95, you get the shirt of your choice. You get your name up on the board for 90 days, and you get a Racer X poster while they last. Shortly before going on, Jerry Kent sent me a text message. So, Jerry, yeah, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, or a money order, and you'll get yourself a nice shirt. You get your name up on the board, and you get yourself a poster. And that goes for anybody else who would like to do the same thing. Now, trivia is coming up. I've got something a little special for you tonight. I'm going to combine two segments. We've got trivia, and we will have a poster, compliments of Motorcyclist Illustrated and Mike McCook. But we're going to show you a video that Jerry Maddox put together during his trip on the road this week on his way to Mid-Ohio. In that video, he's going to be asking a question about who rode a certain bike. You'll see it. And that is the trivia question. So let's take a look at Jerry's video. But let's first do this because I'm really digging this music. All right. Now that we did that, we can get right down to the, and yeah, here's the picture of the, it's a call-in contest new, 925-784-2195. Hey, guys, don't put the answer in the comment section if you know it. All right. Call in or let somebody else call in so they can win a nice prize, and it's kind of a surprise. All right, here comes the video from Jerry Maddox.
Hi guys, I'm Jerry Maddox and we're on our way to Vintage Motocross Days, AMA National Vintage Motocross National Championship. Been training all week at Honda Hills, but we're taking a few minutes off and we're at the wonderful AMA Hall of Fame Museum. Come on inside, I'm gonna give you a little bit of tour of the motocross department. All right, my friends, here we are in the AMA Hall of Fame Museum in Pinkerton, Ohio, and we're in the actual motocross department. I want to give you a quick tour today as we approach some of these wonderful bikes. Not quite vintage enough for me, but they are certainly about to come into their time. So as we browse through these things, you know, obviously I recognize our Ricky Carmichael CR500, and then we've got this 1992 YZ125. That would be a Jeff Emig bike. How awesome is that? Then we're going to come on around to the number 11, which is also a Jeff Emig bike. Oh, the air of the two-strokes. You got to love that. Then, of course, how can you not have a classic Bull Taco or a awesome KTM involved in it? But look at that bad boy sitting up on top. Who do you think rode that motorcycle? I'll let you guys guess, and then maybe I'll give you the answer at the end of it. But that is super awesome. This would be one of my favorite friends and riders, Kevin Windham. Bike. And look at this awesome RM125. Yeah, that was Donnie Schmidt's bike. I didn't know that organically. I read the sign before I did the video, but he was an absolute amazing rider as well. And then of course you got to recognize Kudowski and his stuff. So look at. Coming back around to more of the likely Ricky Carmichael bikes. And then you've got this bad boy. This is going to belong to, I'm guessing that's a Doug Henry bike. I'm guessing that's the first four-stroke to ever win a Supercross. I believe that would be the bike that did that. Now, this is my personal favorite. You know, I'm a Honda guy. I'm a Team Honda guy. I'm a lover of everything Honda. So how can you not like this Works 1982 RC250? Dave Arnold, Team Honda manager, has put this on loan into the Hall of Fame Museum here. So look at that. The things Honda could do that nobody else was doing in those days. Spin around, obviously, classic Mako. This was Danny Chandler's Mako in the early days. Another Ricky Carmichael CR250. Our Ricky Carmichael KX250. You know, I think Ricky rode every brand of motorcycle ever and won on all of them. One of my personal favorite riders in the world was Ryan Dungey. This is one of his last best bikes going. And then I'll end it with this wonderful young photo of Ricky Carmichael himself. Folks, that's the AMA Hall of Fame Museum in Pinkerton, Ohio. Hope you enjoyed this real quick tour. You guys have a great night. Thank you.
Jerry Maddox bringing it to us from the AMA Museum. And if you looked carefully, you saw a white factory Yamaha up on the highest pedestal. It did have a number 1 on it. Did it have 2 shocks or did it have 1? It had 2 shocks. It's a 1973. Who rode that bike? That is our trivia question for tonight. Jerry Maddox kind of slipped that one in there on us. I thought it was great. So don't forget, call in 925-784-2195. That's 925-784-2195. Susie is standing by, and when she gets the call, she'll bring it in to me, and we'll have you live on the air, and we'll find out who's going to win that great poster, okay? Not many of those things left. Moving on. No, I got to play that again. I have to. Yeah, baby. Step on the good foot. All right. Jeff Gakoski is back with the Did You Know segment. I'm really happy he is here with us tonight. Well, not here in the studio, but he is with us. And this is a big celebration, too, for Jeff Gakoski, and here's why. It is Jeff's 100th installment of Did You Know? The 100th installment of Did You Know? I want to thank Jeff Gakoski for that. And, of course, Arma for being a sponsor of that segment. Now, let's get right to it with what Jeff has for us this week. And this is really good, a Did You Know segment. So here it is. My first Did You Know segment was almost 4 years ago, and in the first couple of segments, I talked about Steve McQueen and his relationship with the Ekins brothers, Bud and Dave, their connection to the 1964 ISDT. In one of those initial segments, I mentioned that I would do a story on how the infamous fence jump in the classic movie 1963, The Great Escape, had all come about. That promise sort of slipped in my mind until now. After 99 Did You Know segments, this is my 100th episode. Comes full circle back to Steve McQueen, a man who, even today, defines machismo and style and coolness. So tonight, I ask you this question. Did you know the story behind the Great Escape fence jump? In 1959, master desert racer and SoCal native Bud Ekins owned a Triumph dealership in Sherman Oaks, California. Due to its proximity to Hollywood, the dealership quickly became a magnet for up-and-coming, speed-loving movie stars like Paul Newman, Clint Eastwood, and Steve McQueen. Ekins and McQueen quickly established a bond, and Ekins introduced McQueen to the growing California desert racing scene, where he was instantly hooked. McQueen often joined Bud and his brother Dave and their buddies to compete in desert scrambles events, often using the pseudonym Harvey Mushman to withhold his identity from organizers and other competitors. But after a while, no one was really fooled, and he had that natural talent on a motorcycle that he could have made a career of racing. Now, by the early 60s, after the success of TV series Wanted, Dead or Alive, and the movies The Magnificent Seven, Hell is for Heroes, Steve McQueen's Hollywood star was definitely on the rise. But McQueen had a decision to make. At the threshold of Steve McQueen's stardom, a studio attorney gave him just a day to make a life-altering decision, racing or acting. If McQueen were to become a true leading man, he'd have to play it safe and sacrifice the racetrack. At Sturgis, he brought into the idea, but the film's insurance underwriters took issue with McQueen doing anything too dangerous, like the fence jump. So McQueen asked his old buddy, Bud Ekins, if he would like to take McQueen's place and be the stunt double. They both had a similar stature for that fence jump, and he would help put the chase scene together. Paying him $1,000, about $11,000 in today's currency, Ekins jumped at the chance to work on a Hollywood movie and have the opportunity to rub elbows with the famous cast. Ekins also convinced Australian motocross champion Tim Gibbs to help out with the stunt riding. Gibbs had international 6-day trials experience and came to the U.S. in the late 50s to compete in desert scrambles in Southern California, where he quickly became friends with the Ekins brothers. Where was I? Here we are. One of the first issues that McQueen and Ekins encountered was the bikes themselves. In 1944, German Werkhound would have ridden a side valve BMW R75. R75s were somewhat underpowered and weighed around 500 pounds and had hardtail suspension. That being a problem to make that jump, they were somewhat underpowered as well. Although they wanted to maintain the authenticity where they could, these particular bikes were not good and they weren't going to measure up to what they needed to and what they wanted to do for the chase scene, especially the fence jump. Both McQueen and Ekins, ardent Triumph riders, knew that the off-road capabilities of these bikes very well. So they had British Triumph dealer Ken Haynes, who specialized in modifying bikes to compete in the ISDT events after Alter 4 1962 650 Triumph Trophy TR6s. Now, after they did that, the bikes were made to look like World War II era bikes that German army would have had used at that time. Haynes added a luggage rack and he changed the seat. The handlebars, he made it look a little more period correct. Now, supposedly, the olive drab paint job and the markings were done by artist Kenny Howard, known for as the father of pinstriping at that time. If you're familiar with the SoCal hot rodder culture in the 50s and 60s, you would know him by the name Von Dutch. How about that? Bud Ekins then prepared and choreographed the bulk of the scene that they were going to shoot. McQueen did most of his own riding. McQueen was a better rider than many of the stuntmen playing Germans. So he put on an SS uniform and he did some of the scenes through the magic of editing. He chased himself around across the Bavarian countryside. In the scene where Hilt strings a wire across the road, causing the approaching motorcycle rider to crash, that rider was actually Tim Gibbs, the Australian MX champion, who did do much of the stunt work on that movie. Anyway, if you watch the clip on the movie closely, you can see when the bike crashes that, well, it's actually who it is. Now, it was up to Steve McQueen, Ekins, and Gibbs to figure out the fence jump line. The day before the stunt was to be filmed, the three of them, along the second unit director, Robert Replica, who was in charge of filming the jump, went to the site to lay out the jump. According to Ekins, the special effects man who had a piece of string across the different heights so he could tell how high he was. During the first attempt, he only got a couple of feet off the ground, so they used a shovel to dig natural ramp at the higher angles, but it would have also hidden the camera. As they kept changing the angle of the ramp, Ekins went higher and higher until he reached 10 feet. In an interview later on with Replica, he said that McQueen was frustrated with the insurance company would not let him do the jump. So after Ekins was satisfied with the angle was right, McQueen did the jump just to prove that he could do it. Gibbs did the jump as well, but nobody knew about that other than Replica. When the crew got set up for the jump the next day for Ekins to make the famous stunt, it was sort of anticlimactic because Ekins, McQueen, and Gibbs had already done it the night before. Ekins hit the ramp in fourth gear at 60 miles an hour, which lifted him 10 to 12 feet in the air, allowing the bike to sail about 65 feet. They did it in one take. In an interview, Ekins said, "When I took off, I throttled back. Everything was just silent. The whole crew and everything just went silent. And then from there, I landed. They cheered. It was crazy." To his credit, Steve McQueen never took the acclaim for that jump. After the film was released in 1964, broadcast on The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson tried to congratulate McQueen for the jump, but McQueen gave the accolades to, of course, his pal, Bud Ekins. The movie studio wasn't very happy that he admitted this, but McQueen had too much integrity to take the credit for another man's bravery. So whatever happened to the bike that was used for that jump, the studio gave the bike back to the builder, Ken Haynes, who used it around the shop, and eventually he sold it to a local farmer who herded cows with it. And then he stored it in a barn for decades. 15 years later, Triumph collector and restorer Dick Shepard bought the bike out and found that the former farmer worker had inherited it from the farmer's death. Shepard bought the bike and set it up to restore it. Shepard painstakingly brought it back to its movie set glory, even giving it the dents from the occurring film. The only part of the bike that was not original was the front wheel, which could not have been salvaged. Today, the bike is on display at the Triumph factory in Hickney, England. Supposedly, it has a value of over $2 million. Today, the 65-foot jump and the dirt bike are fairly routine. Factory racers do it all the time across the finish line, across double jumps and supercross. They're doing it just about every lap. But in 63, such a jump was with an almost 400-pound scrambles bike with only a couple of inches of suspension. It was unheard of. The motorcycle jump was essential, and it was great in the movie The Great Escape. It certainly added to its legacy and the history and the moment of movie making. Although it's only a few seconds in the film, it became one of the most iconic images seared into the collective memory, emblematic of the freedom that we have as motorcycle racers. The Great Escape motorcycle chase scene is also the turning point in the movie. It turned a war movie into an action thriller that propelled Steve McQueen to superstardom. Jeff Kokoski, you are just something else, brother. I want to thank you so much, and I'm glad you're feeling better. I know you were down and you had to see a doctor, but you're doing good. You're back at it. Obviously, you put the 100th segment together, so congratulations on that. And for everybody that's watching, we owe you a debt of gratitude, Jeff, for the really, really interesting stuff that you bring us every week. What's that? You want to hear it again? Ah! All right, enough about that. We are going to move on with the show. Hey, Susie, has anybody come in with the? Where are you? We don't have anybody. Hang on. You don't have anybody calling in for the.
I had 2 calls, but they were incorrect.
What answers did they give you? Do you remember? Gary Jones.
Yes.
And Jimmy Weiner.
Yes. No.
We got to go back a little bit further than that. Yeah. And really, that should be enough.
Well,
his national championship was a little controversial. Let's just say that. So think about it again, guys. His national championship was a little controversial. And the rule was changed in the AMA when he won. We will get back to that in a little bit. Right now, we are going to move on with the Racer X segment of the show. Or are we going to go with Did You Know? No, we went with Did You Know? We're going to go with Have You Ever Heard Of, I think. Or, no, we're going to go with this. We're going to go with the Ever Heard Of. Okay, here we go. All right, because I'm just loving these music segments of the show now, and I'm really, really thrilled with them. So, have you ever heard of a Zenith motorcycle? The Zenith motorcycle is a British motorcycle and automobile manufacturer. It was made in Finsbury Park, London in 1903. Automobile manufacturing only lasted from 1905 to 1906. The first Zenith motorcycle produced the bicar in 1903. The bicar was a unique design. It had a hub center steering and a low-slung chassis with the engine centrally fixed. Fred W. Barnes was hired as chief engineer in 1905 and patented the Gradua variable ratio belt drive transmission that year. The Gradua system simultaneously changed the diameter of the crankshaft belt drive pulley to alter the drive ratio while moving the rear wheel forward or back to maintain and build tension. You guys know it as a torque converter. Variable drive ratios proved a significant advantage to the competitors, and it led a lot of riders and other marques to complain about the Gradua and gave an unfair advantage. Eventually, Zenith had to stop using the Gradua and had to turn back to gears due to the competitors' complaints. After World War I racing, there was endurance and trials that occupied much of Freddie Barnes' interest. Zenith motorcycles used engines from various suppliers, including Precision, Villiers, Bradshaw, Martlet, British and Zanny, Fanfare, and Jap as well. And when I say Jap, I mean the initials. The name of the company is Jap, J-A-P. The factory moved to larger premises at that time. They were near a racetrack in Brooklyn, it's a very, very famous racetrack. And the factory really started turning attention to some sidecar racing as well. Zenith was a relatively small manufacturer, but had significant success in speed contests. Chief engineer Fred Barnes personally oversaw Zenith in competition. And in the 1920s, Zenith held more Gold Star records than any other brand on the Brooklyn's racing circuit for the 100-mile-an-hour laps in competition, more than any other marque. Zenith were always keen to promote themselves in competition. Freddie Barnes competed and won regularly on his own machines. Zenith, that was one of the first British machines to do 100 miles per hour on the Brooklyn circuit. Works rider Joseph Wright held a lap record at 125 miles an hour in 1925. Sadly, in 31, the Zenith declared bankruptcy due to the Depression, although writers of Kennington and the principal Zenith dealer purchased the name, restarted producing bikes, but they couldn't hold on much longer, and they were on their way out by the Second World War, which interrupted production again. And that was it. Zenith finally ceased production in 1950. So if you didn't know anything about the Zenith, well, you know something now. I think Susie is ready to come in with our winner for tonight's trivia. Sue? No, I guess not. I thought I heard her come in here, but I guess she did not. You know what? We are going to take a quick commercial break. No, kind of out of commercials, actually. So let's just move on with the next segment of the show. We'll get to the Racer X and the Moto, this week in motocross history. Okay. I'm kind of a little turnaround here with Susie not coming. I thought she'd be in here by now. But anyway, let's move on. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X. Be sure to visit them online at racerx.com. 1972, retired NBA legend Bill Russell and Boston Celtics and manager legend Gary the Professor Bailey met together at Saddleback Park to film an episode of ABC's American Sportsman program where Bailey teaches the 6'11" Russell how to actually ride motocross. As far as the results go, Bill wasn't too much in the limelight, according to Cycle News. He finished last in both motos, but he did finish. And according to Bailey and people who were on looking, Russell did quite a job. He actually cleared a lot of the jumps and he would come down on the back wheel with the gas on. So all in all, he didn't do a bad job as far as style goes, but you know, he just didn't have all the things it took to become a motocross racer especially in one day. And when you think about it, I see Sue's here. She has the phone. And you think about it in one day. And when you think about how big, let's take a look at this picture one more time. Look at Bill Russell standing up next to that DT2. His knees look like they're above the seat. I mean, that would be like even a guy 5'10" or 6 foot probably getting on like a vintage 80s bike. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I do have a caller. He's on with me right now. Let's see how I can do this and hear him. This is Joe Abbate. You're on the air at Vintage Motocross Q&A. We were asking, well, first of all, let's find out this. Who's calling?
It is Rob Dresser.
Rob Dresser. It's good to hear your voice, brother.
Joe, likewise. How are you?
I'm doing real fine. Hey, listen, we'll go down memory lane and we'll catch up after the show tonight. I promise I'll give you a call. But in the meantime, can you tell me whose number one bike that was up there on that pedestal from 1973?
That was Pierre Karsmacher's.
It was Pierre Karsmacher's. That was, I don't want to say it's a good guess because you probably actually knew who it was. And I kind of gave a little bit of a hint there when I said that his national championship was somewhat controversial. It was, and the AMA did change the rule after that. But yeah, it is Pierre Karsmacher's. Did you give Sue your address, Rob?
I did. But you know what? She's got it already because she's, when I buy shirts, she knows where to mail them.
Okay. All right.
So,
well, then we'll get you a poster, Rob. You don't have one of those, right?
Oh, no, I could always use one.
Okay. We will get one to you, and I want to thank you for calling in, and thanks for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Oh, yeah. God bless you, Joe. Have a good night.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Rob Dresser. Yeah, everybody is kind of friendly from Facebook, so it is nice to hear Rob Dresser's voice. We do chat on the phone from time to time. So congratulations to Rob Dresser for guessing that was Pierre Karsmacher's bike. All right. We are now going to take a little bit of a commercial break, and we will be back to wrap up Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Gary Wilson.
I'm Dave Arnold. I'm Heikki Mikkola.
I'm Brock Glover, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paul Parkinson with Replica Motorcycle Parts. I'm sitting here with our test bike, which is ridden by Jerry Maddox. It carries the #1 plate in the U.S. Let's go over a couple of the parts that we've got on here. We've got our ignition cover with the case saver built into it, so that when the chain comes off, you're not damaging your cases. Spacer, foot pegs. Jerry runs our air box. Seat brackets, keeps the seat on tight so he doesn't fall off when he's going over the whoops. And then on this side, Jerry runs a couple little things, a lot of little rubber parts on the bike, and that stuff are all done by us. And then down here we've got our brake pedal, which has got needle bearings in there, and then it's got a wider toe peg so it gives them a real nice, clean, easy to use brake. And then this is our latest part. This is a CR250 type knuckle. In fact, Honda used them on the last versions of the MR175, and this is a real trick aluminum Kickstarter arm. So that gives them lightweight, strength, and reliability more than anything else.
ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. Get over there. Got Kickstarter knuckles for CZs, Kawasaki parts, Mugen air boxes, RM, Suzuki chain guides, and so much more. Thank you, Paul Parkinson Sr., for being a big sponsor and supporter of the show for so long now. Moving on. Let's get on with the announcements, which are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum, but be sure to visit them on their YouTube page during this time. It'd be a big help, okay? A lot of good stuff over there. So getting down with the announcements. What do we got coming up first? Bear Creek. This is a really great place to ride. I've ridden there when I lived back east. The 2026 events, you already got through May and just got through July. Got some cool stuff coming up. A dual sport ride in August. Got some Bear Creek Blast in September and a whole lot of other stuff going on there at Bear Creek, okay? There is an event coming up at George Ackerman's Moto Barn. Kind of bittersweet. It is a memorial event for our friend Steve Wise, who passed a while back there. So that is coming up on October 24th. There's free food. There's a lot of fun. There's trophies. There's going to be a bike show that goes on from 4 to 12. The address is right there on the flyer, or you go over and visit George Ackerman's page. ARMA's got their schedule up. American Classic Racing, Potomac Vintage Riders, Zor. That's coming up on September 25th. It's always a great event. It's going to be a couple of days, so make plans, all right? If you can't make it up there, September 19th from 9 to 5, there's a Vintage Motocross Day. This is put on by the Christian Motocross Club. It is in Walton, Indiana, and I understand there's going to be a taco truck there. What kind of taco trucks can you get in Indiana? Well, I guess we're going to find out, okay? Vintage Day at the Ranch. That happens in Warwick, New York. Beautiful country, Warwick, New York. Okay, that's on Jessup Road. And they got the dates on here when it's going to be happening, 1990 and older. There's a swap meet, there's trials, there's a grass track. They even have a little thing going on for pedal bikes as well. Got the Big Daddy coming up up there in January. Look, it's close to 6 months or closer to even 7 months away, but it's never the wrong time to make plans to get to the York swap meet. So save the date, January 24th, 2027. I will be there as well. Jeff Conboy, his book is still for sale, but there's very, very few left, especially the Pomeroy edition. Follow Jeff on Facebook and get a hold of him, and you can get that book while it lasts. There won't be too many left. If you need a t-shirt, tank top, a hoodie, give us a call. Call Susie at 925-234-8181 or get a hold of us through our Facebook pages. We have hats for only $22, shipping included. You can do that through PayPal, Venmo. The tank tops are like $22 too, if they're even that much. I don't even think they are. But come on, guys, fall's almost here. You'll have some t-shirts, you'll have some hoodies, and you'll have some nice toasty stuff to wear from Vintage Motocross Q&A. I think that does wrap it up for Vintage Motocross Q&A at this point. We got the announcements done. We did a little bit of everything tonight. I hope you enjoyed the music and some of the new videos that we put together. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to keep sharing the show. And yeah, I saw some people put up in the comments that they didn't get the phone number. We've been doing that trivia for quite some time, 925-234. It's my phone number, 925-784-2195. We put it up every week. I'm sorry if you didn't get it in time. I'll try and get the slide up there a little bit longer next time. But in the meantime, that's a wrap from Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you for watching. Congratulations to all the winners. And we will see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A.